Hello student, welcome to lesson 2nd of history part 3, historiography in Indian tradition. Today we are going to see the historiography in the post-independent period. Earlier we have seen the historiography in the ancient time, the medieval time and the modern time. Today, now we are going to study historiography in the post-independent era. Now, along with the writing, dynastic history, social, economical histories were written. Scholars of the post-independent era began to feel the need of writing histories of various communities, science, economic system, political ideologies, cultural aspect, etc. So all these scholars were ready to write the histories of various communities. Which were the communities? Our society was based on caste system. So therefore our community, Indian community, was divided into so many different castes and subcastes, and some castes were considered as higher caste, some castes were considered as lower caste. So different communities were existing at that time. So this writing of histories were started writing in about these various communities, about science, about the economic system, how the economic system was existing at that time after the post-independent period. So then political ideologies. What type of political ideologies were existing after post-independent period? So at that time we had the ideologies of democracy, democratic government were existing. Then cultural aspects. What type of culture were existing at that time? The historiography of this era has been influenced mainly by three ideologies. So, after post-independent era, three ideologies were had great influence on the historiography. The ideologies are: number one, the Marxist history; second, Subaltern history; and the third one is Feminist history. So let us learn in more detail about each of them here now. Among the three schools, we are going to study now the first school, that is Marxist history. Earlier, we have studied that Marx has concentrated on social issues and class theory he has brought in front. So, he said that all the means of production are owned by the proletariat and the production is done by the worker. So, let us see how this Marxist theory is. The concern for the means of production, modes of production, and the historical relations were at the center in the writing of Marxist historians. So, once again, I would like to tell you that means of productions were owned by the rich people. Modes of production, what production they are doing it, and the class struggle with the workers and the owners were existing at that time. This history was written by few people. Accordingly, to analyze the impact of every social event of significance has remained the basic theme of Marxist historiography. So, this was the basic theme to bring forth the class struggle of the people. Marxist historian in India studied the transition within the caste system. What changes were taking place? We had seen that our Indian society was based on caste system. So this caste system they have studied deeply Among the notable Indian historians who adopted Marxist ideological framework, scholars like Damodar Dharmanand Kosambi, Comrade Sripat Amrut Dange, Ram Sharan Sharma, Comrade Sharat Patil have contributed notably. Comrade Dange was one of the founder member of the Indian Communist Party. So Indian Communist Party was founded at the national level, and one of the founder member was Comrade Dange. Primitive Communism to Slavery, the book written by Comrade Dange, represents Marxist historiography. So, through his book, Communism to Slavery, he has written all the class struggles and about the caste struggle in his history. The second school of ideology is Subaltern History. The seed of Subaltern History are found in the Marxist historiography. The role of the Italian historian Antonio Gramsci is very important in developing the idea that history should be written starting from the bottommost rank of the people in the society. In fact, subaltern means the bottommost rank. That means the downtrodden people, the people who are working, people who are doing the farm work and other work. These are considered as bottommost people. So, she said, Antonio Gramsci said that history should be written from the bottommost people. Folklore means povada, bharud, kirtan, bhajan has been considered as a very important source of writing subaltern history. Ranjit Guha, an Indian historian, played a major role in establishing subaltern history as an important academic school of historiography. However, we may point out that much before the onset of subaltern history, similar thoughts were expressed by Mahatma Jyotiba Phule and Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. So let us see what thought Mahatma Phule has given to us. Mahatma Phule unfolded the history of the Kshudradi Kshudra communities in his book Gulamgiri. His book name is Gulamgiri. He drew attention to the exploitation of women, Kshudras, and Ati Kshudra. So, if you see this the Kshudra, Kshudra means the bottommost people, and Ati Kshudra means the neglected, the downtrodden people. As well as women folks were also neglected section of the society. On this, he has written the book called Gulamgiri. The term Kshudra and Ati Shudra indicates the bottommost rank in the caste system. On their life, Mahatma Jyotirao Phule wrote and brought them into the focus. The role of the people belonging to Dalit caste is very significant in shaping of various culture and political aspect of India. However, their role was not duly acknowledged in the colonial and nationalist historiography. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, focusing on this fact, consistently wrote about it. Two of his books, Who Were the Kshudras and The Untouchables, may be cited as example of history of subaltern type. So here, who were Kshudras? Again, we go back to Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. He wrote Kshudra the Kshudra, that is, and Babasaheb Ambedkar also stated that who were Kshudras. So he went back to the root cause. Who were Shudras? And the untouchables. Why they were untouchable? Why they were considered as Shudras? So he went to the
to the root of it, and thus he wrote these two books, and this is called as Subaltern History. Feminist History. Before the historians were writing the history, they were all male dominant, and male historians used to write. That means women's sections were neglected. Hence, women's history remained a neglected one. Therefore, few women came forward related to this. Among women authors writing about women in the 19th century, Tarabai Shinde was the foremost one. She wrote attacking the male dominant social system and the caste system. Her book, Sri Pulush Tulna, published in 1882. Probably this book must have been the first book of feminist history. Later on, in 1888, the book written by Pandita Ramabai was published entitled The High Caste Hindu Women. So, high caste Hindu women were also a neglected section of the society, and therefore she wrote on this. The feminist literature of the post independent era concentrated on the issues like employment of women, the treatment meted out to them at their workplace, their right to political equality, etc. So, my dear student, after the independence, women section started working. They and therefore, whenever they used to go on the work, the treatment was given to them by the male were not so very pleasant. They were still struggling. So about this treatment, the author started writing about them. Among the recently published feminist literature, Mira Kosumbi's book, Crossing Thresholds, feminist essay in social history, is of importance. It consists essays on the life stories of women like Pandita Ramabai and Dr. Rukmini Bai, the first practicing lady doctor of India. Also, a lot of literature is available unfolding the viewpoint of Dalit women in Maharashtra. Dr. Sarmila Rege's work is noteworthy in this context. Her book, Writing Caste, Writing Gender, Reading Dalit Women's Testimony, includes her essays on the autobiographies of Dalit women. There have been a number of Indian historians who wrote without embracing a particular ideology. Among them, historians like Sir Jadunath Sarkar, Surendranath Sen, Riyasat Kar, G.S. Sardesai, and Trambak Shankar Shejulkar are noteworthy. These are the few important historians. They did not hold any ideology such as Marxist ideology, subaltern ideology, or feminist historiography. So they did not hold this ideology. In the recent times, historians like Yashwant Dinkar Phadke, Ramchandra Guha, etc., have contributed extensively to the historiography of modern India. So these were the few historians who contributed for the modern historiography. Thus, it is evident that the Indian historiography have been influenced greatly by the social and political movement. So these two movements were important for writing the historiography, and therefore our historiography was written from social and political point of view. It seems that some part of the Indian historiography was also developed outside the influence of these movements. So some historians, they were not influenced by Marxist history, Subaltern history, or the feminist history, but they had no influence, and yet they wrote the historiography of modern India. So, in this way, the modern historiography was written by so many historians, and they wiped out the stigma which was written by the colonial historiography. They were biased about our Indian culture. So these learned men, these people wiped out the stigma on our Indian historiography and wrote our Indian history of their own. Now, my dear student, we have come to an end to this lesson. I request you to please read this lesson 2 to 3 times. Mark some points. Try to understand certain concepts and write down few points in your notebook. After that, please complete the exercises which are given below the lesson. And if you have any doubt, you can comment below. Till then, have a nice time.